morning, Superboy the Legacy fans. This is your Superboy fact checker, Chris Jacobsen. With me, as always, is the irrepressible Tom Gallagher.
Hey, Chris.
Over in the UK. Hey, Tom. So, given that Tom is having a little bit of issues today with heat in the UK, we're going to just do a real quick episode commentary.
Yeah, obviously, I'm sure, as most of the world is, like we're experiencing a bit of a heat wave at the moment, and anyone that watched our most recent season 5 episode probably saw me wiping sweat from my face multiple times throughout the show. That's just the bits that I had to leave in because one of us was talking at the time.
Yep.
There were plenty of times I actually cut it out. It's so ridiculously hot here. It's just unbelievable. So we wanted to do something, and this is an episode that I've not seen for a long time. It's Into the Mystery.
Such a great episode.
It is a great episode, but it's one that for some reason or another, I don't think I've seen in like 7 or 8 years. I don't know why that is. It must have been less time than that. But either way, when Chris was pitching his Metallo episode for season 5, I missed the reference to death in this with the flute playing. And once it was pointed out that this is the episode it's from, I was like, yeah, I need to watch that episode again. And I figured, why not do it for a commentary? It's been a very long time since I've seen it, and it'd be fun to watch it with you guys. So,
yep,
yeah.
And you know, this is one of the reasons why I added it into, you know, the little reference to it in Metallo's Blaze of Glory, because this is also one of my favorite episodes from season 4.
And it's by one of our favorite writers from the show, J.M. DeMatteis, I think is how you pronounce it. DeMatteis or DeMatteis?
I think so. I'm not sure. I'm sure that somebody will correct us.
Yeah, I'm really sorry if I've got that wrong and you're seeing this.
This is such a great episode. You know, it's one of the more character-driven episodes of the series. So it's less about Superboy fighting a villain or anything, and more about character development. And you know, for those who have seen it, you'll understand what we're talking about. For those of you who have not yet seen it, when you sit down and watch this with us, you'll find it just as enjoyable as we have. It is a sad episode, but it is also a very good episode.
Yeah, and it's very characteristic of his approach to writing for the show. I mean, I think it's probably his most famous episode that he wrote is Know Thy Enemy, which is the Lex Luthor 2-parter, which is the first live action appearance of Lena Luthor. So that's awesome on its own, but just a fantastic episode, very deep sort of character study into what makes Lex Luthor tick. And it's just a really, really great episode. And this is another one. Like they almost work very well together. It just, some of the best character development that the characters had on this show were written by J.M. DeMatteis.
Yep.
So,
all right. So, you ready to start the episode, Tom?
I'm ready. Anybody watching at home, get your copy, whether it's on Tubi or your iTunes version or your DVDs. Get it onto 0 and be ready to hit play. In 3, 2, 1, play. I know some people don't like the season 3 and 4 intro, like in the theme music, but this is my favorite version.
I like the intro. The problem that I have is that it's using footage from another TV series that was being produced at the same time, Superforce, just the capsule portion.
I didn't know that's what they did.
Yeah. Yeah, it was being produced at the same time.
You know, they found a lot of ways to save money. And it works, and
it works, and yet it doesn't work all at the same time.
It looks fine to me. I mean, I still think they should. It would look better if it was more like the ship from Superman the movie. It is a Salkind production. It would look cool if it was like the Crystal ship, but what can you do?
Yeah, and of course, they could try and reuse the footage from that because they did kind of own the movie, but they didn't actually own the movie.
Yeah.
This is interesting. I think this is the same actor who played the doctor that was killed by Metallo in his first appearance.
I think you're right. I was just thinking, where do I recognise him from? But I think you're right. Which makes me wonder if she turned up when he died as well.
Probably.
Yeah, Metallo's there covered in blood, and she's in the corner of the room playing a flute.
Yep. Great.
For a low-budget show, they had some good car crashes.
Oh yeah, and of course, I mean, this whole sequence here where he's flying in, that's some of the best flying work we've seen.
Yeah.
I mean, not to put Lois and Clark down, but they said that they learned a lot from Superboy, but it seems like they went back to square one with their flying stuff, and it wasn't as good as this.
I mean, when you watch the making of documentary for Superboy, for Lois and Clark on the DVDs, they say it was new territory. Nobody had really done this before, and it always annoys me when I see them saying that, because they knew full well that Superboy had just done 4 years of flying.
Yep.
And they were talking about it like it was a brand new concept, something the TV hadn't really attempted, but it had been done the year prior with the same character.
Yep.
It's not even like it was done like a year prior in like a Peter Pan show or something like that. Like, it's still the character.
Yep.
But Superboy's flying is just much better. And yeah, I like Lois and Clark too. I never like putting it down, but Superboy did a bunch of things way better than Lois and Clark ever did.
Yep. Guest stars Frances Peach. Those of us who've watched the show before know her from Standoff.
Who was she in Standoff?
She was one of the bureau members who was trapped in the bar.
Oh, right.
She was the one they were having the party for.
Right. See, that's another one I need to watch again, because I think I've not seen that one in a very long time. But I vaguely know the episode you're talking about.
Yep. This is a brand new character for the Superman mythos, which is his Aunt Cassandra.
Yeah, and they picked a good child actor to play young Gerard. Like, there is a resemblance there.
Yep.
Although I think he looks a little bit more like Barry Douglas Myers, or Douglas Barry Myers.
Yep.
He does look more like him, but.
Yep.
They used color grading well on Superboy, I must admit.
Yep.
I like how in some of the flashbacks and some of the scenes set in the past and stuff, how they would use a lot of color grading on the image. Like Lois and Clark, I can't remember really doing that all that often.
I think the only time they did anything similar to that was when they did that episode where it was back in the 1940s, and the gangsters robbing a bank or something.
I'm trying to think if they did it with that Tempest episode where they flashed back and it was like a cowboy episode. And
no, that one they did not.
Right. For some reason, I always remember that episode with a sepia tone.
Yep.
Obviously, my memory of it is slightly better than the episode itself.
Yep. Lana's a little bit out of character in this scene, the way she's talking down about his aunt.
Yeah, a little bit mean.
Stacy looks amazing as always right here.
Yeah.
Of course, obligatory kids doing something stupid.
Now, this alley set, I'm sure that's the same one from Roads Not Taken Part 2.
Yeah,
where he takes Lana down while she's supposedly going to execute her.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's the same one.
Oh, most definitely, it probably is.
Yeah, I mostly recognise it because I know that on Instagram, Gerard Christopher took a photo recently where he went back there and he took a photo in the alleyway set, and I'm sure it's that one.
Yeah, I definitely think it is because I mean that
I mean, it's a backlot set, isn't it? It
yeah.
was probably used in 1,000 things.
Yeah,
Lois and
but
Clark probably used it as well
I
at some
doubt it
point.
because remember Lois and Clark was filming in
True.
Los Angeles, and this is still in Florida.
Yeah, that's true. You know, I did some bloody stupid things when I was a kid, but I don't think I ever did anything quite this bad.
Yep. Yeah, I never did anything that stupid.
See, I think it's interesting in this episode that he can see her now, because if this is death or whatever, you'd think he would have been seeing her for years.
Yeah.
All the danger that he's been around.
But I you know, as Aunt Cassandra says to him at the end, you were able to see and hear her because I was reaching out to you. So
Yeah.
I think that's why she was able to make herself visible to him at this point.
Yeah, she wants him to see her. It has been such a long time since I've seen this episode. It's almost like watching a new episode with moments that I remember, but most of it I don't.
Yeah. You know, I have to say, watching this episode, there's a lot. It has a lot in common with that famous episode of The Twilight Zone with Robert Redford, also playing Death.
I wonder if they took some inspiration from it, because
I have a
so
feeling.
many shows did take inspiration from Twilight Zone. Let's face it.
Yeah, because I mean the fact of that episode, and just like this is death is not perceived or portrayed as something evil or malevolent or anything like that. It's just a force of nature that does what it does.
It's funny that you can see her on a television screen as well.
Yeah.
The camera somehow picked her up. As much as I love this show, I do like looking for those little inconsistencies and things that don't quite make sense. Actually makes me appreciate the show slightly more.
Yeah.
Apologies for that engine sound. I'm sure people heard that.
Even all these years later, I still don't understand why she turned into Aunt Cassandra.
Yeah. It's like maybe she's just giving some sort of clue about what's going on for some reason.
Yeah. Looking at the character of Aunt Cassandra, it's almost like she's a stand-in for like Ma Kent. Almost like they wanted to write it that Ma Kent dies, but they couldn't.
Yeah, maybe they weren't allowed for some reason. So I'm always amazed that they never did a Pa Kent's death story in Superboy. Because
Yeah.
of all the stories from Clark Kent's younger life, that's probably the most famous event in pre-Superman Clark's history.
Yeah.
But I'm glad they didn't. But I'm surprised that they didn't. But Aunt Cassandra, like she's a really fun character, and I'm really enjoying the flashbacks with young Clark. I think they did a marvelous job, like not just the acting, but I think it's really well written.
Yeah. Again, such a great character driven, moments.
Mm. It's just they just named a cousin of Clark's as well,
Yep.
and it's a shame we didn't meet more of them. Like I wouldn't mind seeing an episode that's like a Kent family reunion type thing, and you see a bunch of his other family, extended family, come in. I think that'd be a
Right.
fun thing to see. Maybe in season 5 we'll do a Kent family reunion episode.
Yeah. And then the fact that this shopkeeper is so dismissive of him,
Yeah,
saying, "Oh, this may be a small town to you, but you know, Clark should have had enough wherewithal to say, sir, I do come from a small town myself."
yeah. I mean, he he comes from a town so small it's literally called Smallville.
Yeah. She's living in a place called Arkham. The word Arkham and DC Comics don't exactly have a good history.
Yeah. Hmm.
Oh man.
It is such a sad episode, this, but it is beautifully written.
Yeah, and it's one of these small moments that helps to define the man that he eventually becomes.
Absolutely.
I kind of put this up there with Rebirth parts 1 and 2.
Mm.
With the character driven moments. You know,
Yeah, definitely. Rebirth, we'll have to do a commentary on at some point as well. But the stuff when he goes back home and he's debating whether or not he's ever going to be Superboy again is fantastic. But this teaches that lesson that we've discussed before on the show, which is he needs to learn that there are some fights he just can't win,
yep,
and this is one of them. Like whether it's Pa Kent's heart attack in Superman the movie, or if it's in Superboy Aunt Cassandra's cancer, like Superboy with all his powers can't do anything about those
yep.
fights. Like, yeah,
And I mean, this actress who's playing Death. I mean, even though she has very little to say, just the way she presents herself, she does such a great job.
Yeah. Yeah, just the way she looks at him. I mean, she's helped a lot as well by the lighting and the smoke and all of that. But she's got this otherworldly sort of presence about her,
Yeah.
and it's just a joy to watch. Yeah, like you said earlier about why she briefly turned into Cassandra, I think it is just that she wanted to give him the chance to say goodbye properly. And he wouldn't have got that otherwise. If she hadn't
Yeah.
started showing herself to him and all of that and giving him the clue to look for Cassandra, you know, he may have never gotten the chance to say goodbye. I mean, the
Yeah.
family didn't even know where she was. Maybe he wouldn't even have known that she had died for a long time. So
Yeah.
it's
Probably would have been. She would have been sitting in that shack there, and then months later, somebody would have found the body, and then it would have been in the papers, and he would may have read it, may not have.
yeah. Mm. There we go.
Yeah.
It's a great use of the episode's title just then as well.
Yeah. And then she fades away. Oh man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just a beautiful ending.
Yeah.
And a beautiful episode. Like it's just a really, really expertly written episode. And to do
Yep.
all of that in 21 minutes is astounding.
Yeah. Some TV productions can't even do it in an hour
Yeah.
nowadays.
And let's face it, in the in the time of streaming, some shows are an hour and like 10 minutes per episode, sometimes more, and
Yeah.
they still don't manage to pull at the heartstrings quite as well as that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, just fantastic.
And if you noticed when we were watching the credits just now, she's not credited as Death. She's credited as Azrael.
Which is the angel of death.
Oh,
isn't it? Yeah,
I think so. I'm not too sure.
I think it is.
Yeah. Such a great episode.
I'm just trying to think when I was watching Lucifer, because Azrael's a character in that, but I'm pretty sure Azrael was the angel of death. So,
And one question I have is I know around around this time Neil Gaiman was working for DC on the Sandman, and he had introduced his version of Death, which was also portrayed as a female character. I wonder if DeMatteis took inspiration from that, or vice versa. Did Gaiman take inspiration from this?
I don't know. I'm just gonna look it up. Apparently, the Sandman comic started in '89.
Okay, then it's probably DeMatteis took inspiration from Gaiman.
Yeah, I mean, it's technically in was it Vertigo or something? So it's sort of the extended DC canon. Because I
Yeah,
know Sandman had Martian Manhunter appear in an issue. I think, if I remember right.
I believe so. Yeah, and
And
Doctor
John
Fate.
Constantine is in it, and
Yeah, Doctor Fate also made appearances here and there.
yeah, so it's just a really great episode, and
Yeah,
you can't really. It's hard because it's difficult. It's a difficult one to really talk about why it's so good, but at the same time, you can't really say enough about it because it's just a really quality episode.
yeah. I mean, one thing you can say about the majority of Superboy episodes is they were written by quality writers. You
Mm.
know, I mean, this was a great one. Know Thine Enemy was a great two-parter. Um, you know, they had great episodes. It's just the problem is that a lot of people think that most of the episodes are kind of as bad as a lot of the first season one stuff.
That's the only problem because people say, "Oh, I want to give it a go," and whenever I see someone say I'm going to give Superboy a try, I always just point out to them, just be like, "Don't be put off by the first season. Everyone knows the first season is terrible. It's got
Yeah,
some good stuff here and there. There are some really good episodes in it, but it's all. I think it is the majority that is pretty bad, and the
yeah.
acting is pretty bad. Anytime Lex Luthor's on screen, certainly,
Up until we
and
get to Luthor Unleashed.
he's still not great in Luther Unleashed. He's the
I'm not.
best he ever was, but he's
Yeah,
still not good.
I'm not saying he was a great actor. I'm just saying he got better by Luthor
Yeah,
Unleashed. And who knows? Maybe if they kept him on and kept the acting coach that he had, maybe he would have gotten even better.
yeah, maybe he would. But to be honest, I think it was just a mistake to have cast that actor in the first place. But we don't want to talk too much about
Yeah,
Scott Wells as Lex Luthor. But it is just one of those things that it takes a while to get going. I always say, like, season one's not that good. Like, season one's got a couple of good episodes, but most of it is bad. Season two is an improvement, but season three is when it gets great.
yeah.
Like, I don't
And
think anyone can really argue with the fact that season three is maybe the strongest season. Season four was very strong too, but I think three is the one for me.
yeah, four. While it is a strong season, that's when it does start to slip back a little bit.
Yeah, but
But then
just a
again, that
tiny bit, thankfully.
yeah, but I think that's a lot to do with the fact that we had so many two-parters. We
Mm.
had at least three uh, clip shows, and
Yeah,
and I get it. They were trying to you know save money so that they could continue to make the series. And
yeah.
at this
Plus, they
point,
were just trying to get to episode 100 at a certain
yeah,
point.
yeah, because I think 100. We've talked about this before. 100 was the sweet spot, as it were, for syndication.
Mm. It's like
But
Mike Carlin told us before, like, 100 episodes was always the target. Like, according to him, that they never intended to make a fifth season,
yeah,
so they knew that season four had to end with 100 episodes. So they had something that they were aiming for, and I think just adding those clip shows was an easy way to get there.
yeah.
But either way, season four is still a good season.
Yeah, you've got this episode, which is absolutely amazing.
Mm.
Um, you've got your personal favorite, which is West of Alpha Centauri.
Yeah. Well, it's not my personal favorite overall, but it's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
But
Um,
we've got obviously no lie enemy is there. We've got Darla. What is it?
Darla Goes Ballistic.
That's it. Darla goes ballistic. Obviously, Rites of Passage was fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah,
Um,
he's a really solid season. To Be Human, the Bizarro two-parter is
oh yeah,
great.
that's great as well.
Was Rebirth season 4? Was that season 3? I'm trying to
That was
remember.
season three. That was season
Right.
three.
Okay. So
Um,
Rebirth's not it, but
even
still.
though it's a clip show, Cat and Mouse is very well done.
Mm,
It's a great one, and I think that's the one that Gerard actually wrote.
I think so.
Yeah. Threesome, it has a great premise and it's a good two-parter, but it's a little lacking in certain spots.
Yeah. I
Um,
think a lot of the time the problem with this show is they had a lot of ambition, but didn't quite have the budget to always back it up. Like Threesome could have been a much better episode if they just had a little bit more money to spend on it, I think.
yeah.
Maybe also one more rewrite, but I mean the script wasn't that bad. Like they could have pulled it off. It's just not as good as it could have been.
Yeah, and I think one way they could have improved it is instead of creating this all new character of Dr. Vexman who we've never seen before and they make reference to having met Superboy in the past,
Hmm.
just make it Neela.
Yeah.
You know, that would have made it a whole lot better.
Yeah, definitely.
Um,
I mean, who knows what the behind the scenes were? I mean, you hear stories sometimes about characters they want to use, but they can't get certain actors, so they have to rewrite it. It's like
yeah.
Dean Cain in Smallville was supposed to be Vandal Savage, but
Well,
I think maybe they weren't allowed to use Vandal Savage. It was either that or they just
yeah.
wanted to keep his initials CK just for the reference. So they just
No,
decided
no. The
to.
original, draft on that episode, it was called Savage, and he was going to be playing Vandal Savage, and he was all set to do that. And then, the DC editorial came along and said, and this is actually in the Smallville season by season books that I have.
Right.
DC editorial came along and said that you can't use Vandal Savage. So you've
Which is stupid because they used practically everyone. Like apart from Batman, they used practically everyone. They even used some Batman villains, like with Deadshot and yeah,
yeah. But they still he essentially is playing Vandal Savage, but he's just
yeah,
under a different name. Now one could argue the idea that maybe he is Vandal Savage and he's just using
a
another name.
pseudonym. Yeah,
Yeah,
but it's like Superboy with Toyman.
yeah,
Instead, they weren't allowed to use Toyman, so they invented Knick-Knack. So maybe who knows? Maybe Naylor or Neela, however you pronounce the name, is maybe it was supposed to be that character originally, and they had to change it to Vexman at the last minute. We
yeah.
don't know. I doubt Mike Carlin's watching the commentaries, to be honest. But if on the off chance you are watching and you have some insight on that, we'd love to know.
Yep.
But or if anybody watching, any of the fans happen to have spoken to people involved in the show at some point and know the answer to that, let us know.
Yep. But here's something that I bet you didn't notice.
Mm,
Okay. Um, the actress who plays Dr. Vexman in Threesome, that's
mm.
Justina Vale. This is our second appearance on Superboy.
Who was she in the first appearance?
If you
It's
think
been a
back,
long time since I've seen Threesome. Oh,
okay,
yeah.
think back to the season 3 finale, The Road to Hell.
Right. Was she one of the doctors in the alternate universe?
She was the alternate Doctor Winger's assistant on Superman's Earth.
That's interesting.
So
I didn't know that.
yeah,
Obviously,
so I'm thinking that possibly she was actually playing Dr. Vexman on the other Earth.
you know what? That's a pretty good headcanon to have. So, yeah. As far as I'm concerned, that is the case.
Yep.
It's like with the MCU and the fact that the actor that plays one of Peter Parker's teachers in the Spider-Man Homecoming films was in the Incredible Hulk as a supposedly different character at like university, like computer lab. Some people are just saying, "Oh, that's him before he got the teaching job. He's still learning it. He's just a student in this episode. It's the same character." And people are like, "Yeah, that works." And I think they did end up backing that up and saying, "Yeah, no, that is the case." Like how they retconned the kid who was dressed up as Iron Man in Iron Man 2. They retconned that to say, "Oh no, that was a young Peter Parker."
Yep. And then, of course, the principal Marita in the Spider-Man movies from Marvel, the Marvel the MCU.
Mm.
He's played by the same character who played Jim Marita in the Captain America: The First Avenger.
Really?
And people were noticing this, and then they said, "So what's the deal?" And they've now come out and said that he's playing his grandson.
Perfect. Yeah. Yep. Perfect explanation. That's all you need to know. But anyway, should we wrap this up?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, everybody,
thank
you everybody for watching.
More about this.
There's not a lot to say that we didn't already sort of say during the episode.
Yep.
But we appreciate everybody who's been watching this. Be sure to leave us a comment and, like, share, subscribe, ring that bell for the notifications, all that stuff.
Yep.
I hate doing that part of the thing, telling people to like, share, and subscribe. But
hey, we need the viewers, so we have to do
absolutely.
Absolutely.
So anyway, thank you so much for watching.
Thanks,
Be sure
guys.
to tune in again, and we'll be back with more Superboy content hopefully next week. So.
Absolutely. See you guys.
Yeah.